who saw me last night. But for you guys who saw me 2 weeks ago talking last about The Letter Home by Rachel English, when I finished filming that part of the last vlog, I went into bed and I picked the book up and I read a further one chapter. But I've just come back from my lunch break at work. I'm still working from home the majority of the week. But I just came back from my lunch break and I am now on page 126. I have made a prediction. I like to do this with kind of suspenseful, thriller, mystery kind of books. I like to kind of go and get a little sticky note, write in what I think is happening or is going to happen or is about to happen. And then when the book is actually finished, I like to go back and see if my detective work was actually right. So I'm not going to tell you what I've predicted because that is quite the spoiler. But I am going to come in at the end of this book and tell you whether or not my prediction was right. The other book that I am reading, I'm actually listening to it as an audiobook, is A Ghost in the Throat by Aoife. I mainly picked this one up because of the cover, but I had also heard that it was a really great feminist non-fiction book. It also fits into one of the prompts because I believe Aoife from Words of Clover, who's one of the hosts, has already read this. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone in the terms of the prompts for the Irish Readathon. I am listening to the audiobook of this, as I said, and it is narrated by Siobhan McSweeney, who people may know as Sister Michael from Derry Girls. What I didn't know before going into this book is that Siobhan's grandfather is a well-renowned Irish poet. So Siobhan is either very well versed or fluent in the Irish language, which is coming across really well. Siobhan being able to speak Irish is really important because this is the physical copy of the book that I also have and will keep to go back on it because this is a book I'm going to reread. But at the start of every chapter, there is a little part of a poem that was written by Aoife Dovney Connell, and it's translated from Irish and then into English, and it's really interesting to hear somebody actually speaking Irish from somebody who hasn't been able to speak Irish in such a long time. It's really like being at home. The main plot points of this book are Doireann writing a lament for Aoife Dovney Connell, who wrote a Cuine, which is a kind of a lament poem that was written in Ireland in the 15, 16, 1700s. When people died, you had a Cuine written about you. There was one written for Artie Connell, who was Evelyn Dove's husband. I am completely gripped by this. There's a lot of talk in this book about motherhood. There is a particular passage in the book where Doireann gives birth to one of her own children, which is so gripping and so kind of frightening at the same time when you're seeing how childbirth can go wrong in certain places. There was nothing horrible that happened, but it was just a very kind of tense moment for Doireann and her husband. This is a really phenomenal book. I'm kind of angry at myself that it took me so long to pick it up, but I am going to speed through the audiobook for the rest of my workday, and I will probably be finished with it by the evening. I'm not going to go into the depth and the concept, but there's 2 teeth have been removed from my mouth, so I'm taking the day off to recover, hence the sounding a little bit grumpy. Remember I said that I made a prediction about The Letter Home? My prediction was right. It came to fruition about 30 pages after I told you the prediction that I'd made it. Again, I'm not going to tell you what the prediction was, but it felt a little bit, this is where this book is headed. Phenomenal news. That's not a word. Phenomenal news. My face is slightly smaller than it was yesterday, and my voice has somewhat returned. She says as her voice cracks. It's the 19th of March. It is a Saturday morning. I don't have training today because there is a kind of St. Patrick's Day parade event thing happening that the GA Club is going to take part in, but I have made the executive decision to not for now The Letter Home by Rachel English, which is a very strange decision to make halfway through the book, but it is a decision I'm going to make nonetheless. It's been a full week, and generally if I'm enjoying a book I will finish it within a week, but right now I'm only about halfway through. There's nothing wrong with it per se. I think it's just right book at the wrong time.
So you have the concept of a DNF, and then you have the concept of a not right now, so N or N. And I think that this book isn't N or N because there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it. I'm having not a bad time with it. I'm just not having a great time with it right now. And that could be a right now thing. It might just take me another couple of months to pick it back up and say, oh, I forgot about this book. Let's go back to it. But anyway, it's a new day. We're going to have a new book. So I'm going to start Mother Folklore by Dara O'Shea. I had also somewhat put this on my TBR in that I intended to and then forgot. This is a non-fiction book about the Irish language, about trying to revive it, about trying to use it in daily life. I'm not sure if any of the other hosts have ever read this, but let's see how I get on with it. I would like to personally apologise to the author of this book, whose name I have mispronounced every single time I've said it. Dara O'Shea. That's on me, babe.
It's Monday the 21st of March and I will be finished work in about 5 minutes, I think. But I am going to tell you first of all that I am very much nearly finished this. I will probably be finished it in about an hour or so. Really enjoyed this. This is very much the love letter to the Irish language that I was hoping it would be. There's a lot of kind of etymology of Irish words, loan words that we've taken from other languages that have taken loan words from us that you might not know, such as banshee is an actual direct translation of the Irish banshee. And I really enjoy that side of it. There's also a whole chapter about Irish names, their origins, their pronunciations, and I am absolutely sickened that my brother's name got 2 separate entries and mine did not get a single one. But we'll move on. I am also going to cook dinner this evening because solid food is starting to come back onto the menu after Thursday. So I'm going to cook something from the Daily Dish Rides again. This is Carol and Gina's second cookbook and I really enjoy this one. It's got a lot of really great recipes in there and what I'm going to make from it is a korma that I have made several times. I'm going to take you with me and you can see how to make it and give it a go for yourselves as well if you want to. Finished Mother Folklore. before I went to sleep, and I really did enjoy it. I think it's a great book to read whatever your experience of the Irish language is, whether you are completely a beginner or whether you're like me and you're much more fluent with the language and you just want a little bit more of a refresher. Now that one is done, I'm going to go on to Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jaigidar. She was born in Bangladesh but grew up in Ireland since she was 10 years old, and this one is going to fit the read a children's book prompt for the Irish Readathon. I read Adiba's debut last year, The Henna Wars, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I have got a copy of Hani and Ishu since maybe October, November of last year, but I knew I wanted to keep it for the Irish Readathon as The Henna Wars was their group book last year. And I felt like it kind of felt like a full circle thing. So I'm going to read this one on my way into the office later on today, because I'm going to work a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And let's see how I feel about this one. We've seen that the weather is beautiful. I think after work I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk and bring an audiobook with me, but the problem is that I don't know what audiobook I'm going to bring. I am still trying to keep it Irish authors mainly / Irish authors only, so I think I'm going to maybe do a Marian Keyes. Maybe Anybody Out There, which is the next book that I need to read in the Walsh Sisters series, and it follows Anna. I have got this physical copy of it, and I got this about a year ago from Rachel. And I haven't actually picked it up yet. It's in pretty pristine condition, actually. And I do love a Marian Keyes book. And I feel like March is a really good time to have read one, especially because I've already read Rachel's Holiday and Again Rachel this year. Maybe finishing up the Walsh Sisters series might not be the worst idea when I'm going on this little ramble.
Come to the time of year where you don't know what kind of jacket to wear. I put this one on this morning and I'm utterly boiling. I finished Hani and Ishu's Guide to Not Dating last night before I went to sleep, and it is utterly wonderful. There are some kind of heavy moments of Islamophobia and homophobia, specifically biphobia, and those are a little bit stomach clenching to read, but they are written so wonderfully and with so much tact and respect. Something that I really love about this as well, and it has also featured in the Henna Wars, is the introduction of Bengali culture, foods, traditions, such as the dawat, such as a tradition before Bengali weddings. They're obviously not something that I'm very familiar with, but I really loved how those were portrayed in the book. And as well as that, there was a tiny little bit of Irish put in, and that was just chef's kiss. This is a very bougie day. Not only am I going for breakfast right now, I'm also going for dinner later with a friend. But I have brought a book with me that I may have told you I already started reading, but lied. On the walk that I went on Wednesday, I didn't actually bring the audio book of Anybody Out There with me. I just continued listening to a couple of podcasts that I love that came out on Wednesday. So I have brought the book with me. I'm going on a solo breakfast trip, so I'm going to try and get a little bit of this read, see how I'm gelling with it, and then we'll go from there. There are very few places in Berlin that you can go and the TV tower isn't just poking his head out saying hello to you. I learned that the hard way.
See what I mean? When you're recovering from another tooth extraction and you're feeling pretty crappy and you're in a lot of pain and you can't really talk or eat, there's really only one thing that's going to improve your day. Book post. I ordered this book in mid-February. There's an advantage points card kind of situation here in Germany where it's accepted in quite a lot of shops. So you can pick up the points in this place and then redeem them in this place, for example. Usually when I've got to about 1,500 to 2,000 points, I will go on the Thalia website, which is one of the bookshops in Germany, and it's also one of the shops that this points card is accepted in. And I'll go through my bookshelves, I'll go through my wish list, I'll go through TikTok, I'll go through like videos that I've watched of people recently and books that have really caught my eye there. And this one absolutely caught my eye. So this is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This is half a TikTok recommendation and half a Michelle from Michelle's Library recommendation. I know that she read this, I think the start of the year, and really enjoyed it. I know that this is a sapphic romance. I know that it is about a woman who kind of lives in New York and has left her small town. And she doesn't intend on ever going back there. But then her sister is getting married in said small town, so she has to go back and help out with the wedding and be in the wedding, and then falls in love with one of her sister's friends, and I am hype about reading this one. Allow me to tell you the worst part about reading. When you put your book down so that you can go and get some tea, or go to the bathroom, or answer the door, or do whatever it is that you need to do, and your fucking bookmark falls out. I should have known better because I do have, for the majority of the bookmarks that I use, I have this little ribbon that wraps around the whole book so that you can, keep your place and your bookmark doesn't fall out. But now I don't remember where I was in the book. So while I'm trying to find where I was in the book, I will tell you what I think of it because I genuinely am very close to finishing it. I was probably around page... no, I've read that. No, I was here. I was around page 550 of a 590 page book. So I think I have got some kind of authority to tell you what it's about. This is about Anna, who is the second to youngest of the Walsh sisters in the series. And Anna's living in New York. She's married to a man named Aidan. But at the start of the book, Anna is back at home with her family in Dublin. And she is clearly recovering from something. We don't know what it is that she's recovering from. And she's trying to get back in touch with her husband. And that's not happening. There's no answer. He's not picking up the phone. He's not responding to emails. Nothing's coming back. Throughout the course of the book, you find out why her husband isn't answering, why she's back in Dublin, what happens when she goes back to New York, and how her life kind of changes from there. I don't want to go into what happened in New York because I feel like it is a massive spoiler. And I went into the book not knowing what had happened, and I really genuinely feel like that made the huge difference because I wasn't waiting for something that I knew to happen. I was just plodding along for the ride, and then when it finally did happen and we got to the stage, I was just like, we're in the action now. The book is kind of set in three parts. So you've got part one where Anna is back in Dublin, and kind of coming to terms with what has happened to her. And at the end of part 1, you do find out what it was that happened. Then we're getting to part 2, and it's all about her recovery from that, her going on with life from there, why Aiden still isn't in touch. You do find out a lot about that. And I am just reading part 3 now, and her parents have come to visit her in New York. Her sister Rachel is also living in New York at the moment. And I really love that kind of family aspect. That is something that I think these books in particular, but also Marion's writing as a whole, covers really well. You can tell that Marion herself is part of a big family, that she has a lot of siblings, that she has a lot of nieces and nephews, because of how she writes family dynamics like that, because of how families in her books are portrayed. And I genuinely think that she has just a gift for writing family dramas. I think me and my very swollen face are going to leave this March reading vlog here. As we're sitting here right now, it is the 30th of March, so it's probably time to get working on what I'm going to be reading for April. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.